Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to bring you a tier list for Fighting Spirit. Now I'm doing this tier list from the perspective of resource management, which is why on the left hand side you see more things like level 30, level 20, level 10, level 5, level 1, rather than tier S, A, B, C, what God tier, etc. I'm doing it based on the levels because at each of those levels you unlock a new effect or skill. So I'm trying to evaluate how important is it for you to get a character to a certain level in order to actually unlock that additional effect. And the reason why I think this is really important is because take an example, going from level 20 to level 30 requires one of the rarest currency in the game, the boost stones. And because it's so rare, it's very unlikely that you're able to do this for every single character. So you have to prioritize in some kind of way. And instead of just saying, trying to get everyone to level 30 or at least the strongest character to level 30, you actually have to think about, some characters are actually perfectly fine even at a lower level. So I'm going to take an example of bison, one of the strongest character in the game, right? If I'm doing a character tier list, he will be at the top. If I'm doing a character tier list in conjunction with fighting spirit, he will still be at the top because he's the best character, and if you're able to throw extra benefit from fighting spirit on top, he's still gonna be the best. He's just gonna beat everyone but Mars. But the reason why I put him at level 10 is because if you actually think about from resource management perspective, he's perfectly playable with level 10 fighting spirit. So with the same amount of resource, I need to go from level 10 to level 30. I'll be much better off reinvesting that into a different character who actually need it, rather than just pouring it all on Bison when he's perfectly fine at a lower level. And that's kind of why I'm doing my tier this way, to really help you to understand which characters you absolutely need to max it out, and which characters they still have good fighting spirit and really good characters, but you're able to get away with it with much lower level, and therefore help you to save a bit of resources from that perspective. Alright, so with that all being said, let's go straight to the tier list. I'm starting off at the top with Space Sangar. Hands down, I think the best fighting spirit in the game, in my opinion. His level 30 is absolutely crazy because what it does is that when he is inflicted with a control effect, he is going to release his combo 2. Now, combo 2 I mentioned frequently in my other videos on my channel is the best combo 2 in the game because it has an AoE interruption mechanic built into it. That's absolutely crazy. And now, first of all, the potential chance of you being able to trigger a free combo 2, the best attack in the game, that's already great. But also, if you think about the scenario of his trigger condition, this is only triggered when the opponent inflict a control effect. The opponent is not going to inflict control effect with their normal attacks, right? They can only inflict, vast majority of the time, inflict control effect when they're attacking you with combos. So actually, what this is saying is that being Zanglish level 30 fighting spirit has the potential to interrupt. Sorry, when you get hit by other enemies' combos, which inflict control effect, you are able to launch an attack with the potential ability to mass interrupt that whole combo chain. And that's what makes it so crazy. Is I'm just thinking like this passive way of just interrupting enemies' combo chain. That's just absolutely amazing, and that's kind of why he's the top of the list for me in terms of level 30 fighting spirit. And absolutely essential for you to get him to level 30 for that massive power jump. Jury, also very important for her to be level 30 because at level 30 she's able to initiate her engine at the start of battle. Normally, if you don't have that, you need to use her combo starter to actually activate the engine first. And the funny thing in this game is that you can't use your combo starter and combo chain in this combo one in the same chain. And Jury's combo one is actually really nice because it increases her dodge and also have potential silence effect. So it's actually a really nice combo one. It greatly increases her survivability because she's really fragile. Now, if you are not able to use your combo starter and combo one in the same chain, and you kind of need Jury to even use her combo starter first to activate her engine, then what normally happens is that in your very first combo chain, you have to use combo starter. right, to activate her engine, but then she becomes really vulnerable because she have literally no defensive mechanism for that whole chain. And you are only able to then do something to kind of increase her survivability 20 seconds into the battle. And because she's so fragile, there's a high chance she may not be able to survive till then. However, if she has level 30 fighting spirit, she is able to get that engine at the start of the battle straight away. And then this means I don't need to use my combo starter anymore. I can go straight into her combo 1. And her combo 1 increase her dodge, and therefore I immediately get much higher survivability with her. And that's going to be really important while trying to keep her alive so she can dish out as much damage as possible. And that's why you really need level 30 for her fighting spirit. Then we move on to Blanca. Blanca is pretty straightforward. Basically, he counterattacks when he's getting hit. When that happens, he is gonna give everyone in the team a shield, right? A mass shield for everyone. That's just absolutely amazing. You need him at level 30 just for that, right? Quite simple. Dowser also crazy at level 30. What happens is that at level 30, his Yoga Flame is gonna have 100% chance of inflicting burn. I wasn't even actually too sure at the start, so I had to try it out myself in the draft mode. But this actually has 100% chance of inflicting burn per hit, and his Yoga Flame deals 6 times damage. So that actually means by the end of your Yoga Flame, you immediately inflict every single enemy with 6 stacks of flame. Sorry, 6 stacks of burn, and that's absolutely crazy. You can easily then now swap him into then Sea Viper to detonate off the burn, etc. It's going to be crazy amount of damage. It's just such a big power jump, so that's why I think you really need him to be at level 30 for how quickly he's able to stack up off the burn status. Gao, also crazy amount of damage once you get him to level 30 fighting spirit. What happens is that his final attack no longer consume any saber. So first of all, he's able to build up his saber insanely fast, and every single saber is able to give him essentially the chance to ignore defense. So it's like kind of like armor break on himself. And if you're not consuming anything, then you are gonna deal massive amount of damage with every single attack, all at the same time, ignoring enemy's defense. Like this, once again, it's gonna make his damage output absolutely crazy. It's just a massive power jump compared to some of the lower levels, and that's why I really think you need him to be at level 30. Trendy, quite straightforward. You need her at level 30 because she then has the potential chance of increasing your super combo gauge by additional 30 whenever there's a crit. And her attack deals what, like 7 times. So if any of them crit, then you're going to increase, and it's also likely multiple will crit, and therefore you increase your super combo gauge by quite a lot. And it's just going to make you able to deal out your next combo chain so much faster. So absolutely crazy to get her to level 30. Elena also very nice because what happens is that the same with Elena is because she's a healer and she's pretty much like the only active healer in the game right now. As soon as you have her on the team, vast majority of the time you'll be using her combo 1 all the time. And that basically kind of ignores all of her other attacks. But at level 30, what it then means is that when you use her combo 1, there's actually a 60% chance to also trigger her combo starter, which buffs of your attacks, etc. So now not only you are able to heal, you're also able to buff your attacks and speed. So absolutely amazing, and that's why once again you are going to see a much bigger power jump if you are able to get her to level 30 fighting spirit. Then we have Sea Viper and Makoto. They perform in very similar ways, but basically what happens is at level 30, not only they are able to buff themselves up with either armor energy or kind of like chi focus, chi flow, etc., but they will also be able to buff up the rest of your team. So that's very good. So it kind of gives them this kind of like supporting buffing ability. And to be honest, it's quite nice buff as well. Like our managers are 5%. I think Makoto's one slightly lower, so at 4%. But they are able to gain off this passively when getting hit or just using their normal combos. So you're just able to stack up those buffs really quickly. And because you're also not buffing up the rest of your team is going to be really strong overall. So that's why you kind of want them at level 30. DJ and Mayor Cody are very similar to B Zangief in terms of their level 30 because they are also able to have the potential to stun when getting hit. The only problem is that this is a single target rather than B Zangief, who is like an AoE attack. So even though they both have this kind of passive interruption built in, your likelihood of interruption is going to be slightly lower. In fact, quite a bit lower than Beat Zangless passive interruption because Beat Zangless passive interruption is AoE. So as long as you're able to stun any of the four enemies, there's a high chance you can break their combo chain. Whereas for DJ and Mayor Cody, you kind of need that passive to work on the character who is in that stage of the combo chain. So it's not as good as Bizangli, but still, it's a massive power jump from level 20 to level 30. That's kind of why I still put them on this tier. Then we have Guy. Guy is also absolutely crazy. Guy's combo tree is saying as, as long as he execute a combo, all of the subsequent combo is gonna receive 20% extra attack. And from some of the lower levels, you are also gonna get like extra crit rate, extra pressure, etc. Like he's just going to buff all of the subsequent attacks in the combo chain. And if you think about, if he is going to initiate with his combo starter, then you initially get three subsequent attacks all completely buffed up. And that's absolutely amazing. And to be honest, a lot of time you probably do want to start off with his combo starter anyway, because his combo starter is actually really nice. It's able to hit the back rows and also have an interruption effect. So it's really nice combo starter. So if you just start off with him and then buff all of your remaining attacks, it's going to be absolutely crazy. And that's why you really want him at level 30. Alright, now let's move on to level 20. And I'll kind of talk about why level 20 is really important for these characters, but level 30 is a bit of an overkill. So for Rose, you really want level 20 because at level 20, what happens is she's able to gain tarot card when other characters are gaining them. It's a bit of RNG involved, and that's kind of why I think level 20 is better than level 30. Well, not better, but level 20 is sufficient. There's no need for you to go to all the way to level 30. Because what level 30 additionally offer you is that when she collects all four tarot cards, then she would be able to deal damage and also silence the enemy. Now, while that sounds really good on paper, silence is an interruption effect, right? That sounds really good on paper, but there's a lot of RNG involved because she is gonna, first of all, other allied fighters will gain a tarot card randomly. You have no predictions when you can do that, and on top of that, you only have a 50% chance of gaining that tarot card. So there's no way you can control when you are actually able to get all four tarot cards together with no duplicates, because a lot of time actually you may be getting duplicate tarot card and therefore they're not actually collecting all four of them. So there's no way you can control when you collect all four tarot cards, and that also means there's no way that you can control when you're able to silence off the enemy, and therefore no way to control when you can interrupt enemy's combo chain. And because of that, that makes it not very good. And I don't really think, in real battles, this silence effect a lot of times is just going to be wasted. So that's why I don't think there's any need of getting rolls any higher than level 20. E Honda level 20 is absolutely amazing. It increases immunity from 2 seconds to 5 seconds. Before with just a 2 second immunity, what that normally means is that you're kind of just blocking the next attack. But with the 5 second immunity, normally you can actually block the entire combo chain, and that's going to be really amazing. It's effectively you nullify a whole combo chain from the enemies. So that's why it's really important for you to get him to level 20. Why level 20 to level 30 is better for overkill is because that only activates when you are doing kind of damage sharing mode. And first of all, I have no idea how often you may actually want to do that because damage sharing is only activated if you use his combo starter. So that is a bit of hard for you to actually activate it in the first scenario. And the second thing is that what it allows you to do is allow your other characters to also get healed up. But if you're saying about that, when this happens, E Honda is actually the one most vulnerable because E Honda is actually going down less than 20% HP and therefore in this immunity status. If I want to heal up anyone, it's much better for me to heal up E Honda. The rest of the characters, I'm going to assume is actually quite well protected, and that's why E Honda has taken so much damage. So therefore, I don't actually think it's that important for the rest of your characters to be healed up when E Honda is in damage sharing mode. So that's why I don't think you need E Honda to be level 30 for his fighting spirit. Then we get to Matt Rai. Matt Rai, why do you need level 20? That's because he is able to get a shield. And that's very important because a lot of time when your Matt Rai is charging in to attack or his passive kicking and he can't just stand there to launch a Hadouken, what happens is that he is actually gonna be in the range of enemy's attack. Right, a lot of time he is behind your tank, so he will be protected from most of attack. But when he's jumping in to do his own attack, he is really vulnerable. So if you are able to grant him a shield, that will greatly help his survivability. Now, why is level 20 to level 30 not really needed? It's because this shield is scaled off on his sacrifice HP. And vast majority of time early on in the game, your sacrifice HP is going to be really low, and therefore, regardless of level 20 or level 30, that shield is going to be broken after one hit. It's just as simple as that. And later on in the game, as you sacrifice more HP, yes, the shield difference is going to be bigger. So maybe at level 20, your shield can still only block one hit, whereas at level 30, your shield may be able to block 2 or 3 hits. However, in order for you to do that, you must have already sacrificed a lot of HP. And normally with Matt Ryu, your win condition is that you are trying to take out the enemy as fast as possible with your kind of combo 3, with your massive high dealing attacks. You're trying to one shot off the enemies. So if you actually get to a stage where you sacrifice lots of HP, most likely all of the enemies, a lot of the enemy would have already been killed off. So maybe the enemy only have 2 characters left, and therefore I don't actually need a shield that is able to protect me against multiple hits because I am much less likely to get hit by multiple enemies because a lot of them are already meant to kill, and that's why I think that Matt Ryu, whilst level 30 is really nice, a lot of time I don't think it's actually needed because if it's early in the game, it's going to be one hit shield no matter what. Later on in the game, yes, level 30 can allow me to block more hits, but I don't need to block more hits. So it's just a bit of wasted resource there. Alright, now let's move on to M Bison. M Bison, why level 10 is needed? This is actually really funny because I don't actually think his level 20 is any good. In fact, I think you should definitely avoid his level 20 because what level 20 does is that Inferno King will also affect other teammates. What Inferno King does is it increase their damage, but prevents them to be healed. And the whole thing with M Bison is that M Bison doesn't die if your other teammates are still alive. So a lot of time you want to make sure your other teammates are in the battle as long as possible. So you actually want to heal them. You don't want to be them not able to be healed because if they're not able to be healed, it makes them a lot more fragile, and if they're fragile, your M Bison is much more likely to die because he will be the last one standing. So I absolutely think like level 20 is a no go for M Bison. So if you really want the additional stats etc., you can get M Bison to level 19, but definitely just stop there. Do not get him any higher to level 20 or higher. Just stop at level 19 for sure. All right, then move on to Combat Guile. Combat Guile is really weird. His fighting spirit is trying to do too many different things at once, and kind of make him a bit of a jack of all trade and master of none. Out of all of them, I think because Combat Guile is supposed to be a DPS, therefore increasing his attack is kind of important. And his level 10 is when he's actually able to increase his attack. The later on is kind of more like HP restoration or dispel more buffs, etc. But I don't really think those are that necessary. So level 10 to me is kind of the sweet spot for Combat Guard. Then we have Adon. Adon is level 10 for me as well because what that means is that you'll be increasing crit damage for every single hatred mark. Later on, at level 20 or level 30, it's more specific because, first of all, it's only to the target with hatred mark. so therefore it's not going to be as useful. And level 21, um, what happens is that it increases the crit damage. But the thing is, to actually make use of crit damage, you need to crit first, and it doesn't actually increase his crit rate anywhere. So I'm not actually sure how often you are able to trigger a crit with him normally. So therefore, I don't think that you should be getting to level 20. I actually think, just level 10 is probably going to be enough for Ada. Then we have a few characters who I put in level 5. The level 5 are basically the assist skill. So these are characters who I think they work really well in assist positions, to be honest. You can put them in their main team, and a lot of them are really good in main team, like Gen or Abel. They're all amazing in the main team. But their fighting spirit is not really going to contribute too much additional extra. And to me, the power jump is actually coming from level 5 when they are able to have really good supporting assisting skill. And that's kind of why I put them here. So Abu, the reason why Abu's you absolutely need well actually no, let me talk about it this way. For Abu, his assist skill is really good because he's able to grant the assisted character a shield every 8 seconds. And that's absolutely amazing because what that means is that you are able to protect, let's say, your most fragile character as simple as that, right? If I have a really fragile character, so let's say I have M Bison up front, and then I have two characters behind him. One may be the more fragile one may be the more bulky one. Have Abel protecting the more fragile one, and your team is going to be unkillable. Just as simple as that. That's why Abel's level 5 is amazing, assist skill. I don't think Abel, you need to get him all the way up, because what get him all the way up is he is able to give a shield to your whole team when they get critted. So, when the enemy land a critical hit against you, then you're able to grant a shield. Now, this is very much situational, depending on whether the enemy is actually able to crit you in the first place. And it's not ignoring the crit damage itself. What it's doing is ignoring the next hit. So actually, if the enemy already meant to crit you, they're already doing significant amount of damage to you. How important is it to whether your character is still going to be alive, that's one question to be asked, or whether that shield will even be any use. And that's kind of why I feel like level 30, well, anything higher, it's just a bit of a waste because one, is too situational on the enemy actually able to crit you, and two, a lot of time if the enemy do crit you, it may be a bit too late already. Next we have Gen. Gen's assist skill is also amazing, just essentially like a shadow clone, like so much extra damage. You're essentially having another fighter on the field for free. So that's why assist skill is absolutely amazing. Why I don't think he needs to be any higher, purely because he's a lot of other damage. If you actually look at his skill description for the high level, basically at level 10 and level 20, what it does is like super RNG based because it's you require a trigger condition of the enemy actually doing a trigger passive or trigger skill, or you're able to do a crit. So what that means is there's already a bit of RNG in terms of whether you're able to do a crit or do your trigger skill. And then on top of that, there's only a 10% chance of you actually have an additional effect. So it's like RNG on top of RNG and just not really worth it. And level 30 is nice, but if you actually compare the description, I don't actually think there's too much incremental benefit in terms of like both the damage output or the effect. So I think it's like a cherry on top, but definitely not mandatory. And that's why I think, he's probably more suited as an assist position. Then we have Fashion Sakura. Fashion Sakura's assist skill is absolutely amazing. Basically, what it does is it makes, once again, similar to Apple, it just makes one of your character unkillable. So, once again, really nice. Imagine if you have M. Bison up front, two characters behind M. Bison, one protected by Apple, one protected by Fashion Sakura. Your team is actually going to be unkillable. But it's just absolutely crazy. Beast Zank, sorry, not Beast Zank, normal Zangief. His level 20, level 30 all evolve around kind of like the super armor ability. I'm personally not a great fan of super armor. Super armor is nice because it prevents you from being knocked back and therefore not backed into a corner. But most of the time, you want to be the one doing the knocking back and you want to force the enemy into a corner rather than the other way around. So I don't actually saying super armor most of the time is that important. However, his level 5 assist ability is really nice because it first of all grants additional defense, but also you also get less damage from flame, thunder, and soul damage. So that's actually going to be really important because Dowsum deal crazy amount of flame damage. So if you're able to protect against Dowsum somehow, every little helps. And Zangief is definitely one of the best characters to help you to survive against Dowsum. So just as simple as that. Kami's level 5 is nice because what happens is she just jump in to attack and inflict the armor break. So it's kind of like a free armor break at start of battle. And also, she may just jump in every now and then when passive trigger is triggered. So therefore, it's just really nice. Then you have Yuan and Yan. They are also more suited in terms of their assist position because what happens is that when they are assisting, they are able to increase your combo gauge. So it's always nice to increase your combo gauge so that you can do your combo chain quicker. So that's why they're really nice in assist position. Um, Fei Long is nice in assist position because he is going to increase the extra damage output for your flame damages, etc. So that's very nice for a fire team. Anything higher, I don't think is really necessary because it's all to do with flame vulnerability. However, he only inflicts flame vulnerability on a single target, so that's a lot of resources you need to spend on just trying to do more damage on a single enemy. I just don't think it's worth it, and that's why I think level 5 is good enough for him. T-Hawk, I think level 5 is nice because what happens is you are able to get rid of, essentially get rid of debuffs, etc. So that's really nice. Now, why I don't think you need him any higher is because I just find his whole kit really contradicting because he is trying to increase your effect resistance so you won't be able to be landed with debuffs. But at the same time, half of his skill only works when he's dispelling a debuff. So it's like half of my skill is preventing me from it getting a debuff in the first place. And if that's the case, then I have nothing to dispel. Then it makes my other half of the kit useless. And I just find his whole I don't know skill toolkit not really fitting very well, and that's why I think there's no need for you to get him any higher. Because even if you get him higher, half of the effect doesn't even work. So what's the point? All right, now we move on to level 1. So those are characters who are just no, I don't think you really need them any higher. It's not to say they're bad characters. In some ways, I would say they're really good because they are able to be, playable even without any fighting spirit invested. So you can even think of it from that perspective. Now, starting off with Poison. Poison is nice. I don't know, like her level 30 is actually really nice because what happens is that she has two chance to silence an enemy, and that's great because that's an interruption effect. But the problem is that she already have another attack or combo starter with the potential ability to interrupt to silence. So I don't really need that additional skill also with the likelihood to interrupt when I can already do it with her base kit. So therefore I just feels like any investment in fighting spirit is both not really needed. Then we have DiCapri. DiCapri is actually really nice. I may put her up to level 30 if she is if she is actually positioned really nicely in a team and the enemy is also positioned really nicely. Because what happens is that she's gonna zoom in on the enemy with the lowest HP percentage and just really help you to just kill off that character. So if you pair up with someone like Guy who's able to attack the back row, right? So if you start off with Guy attacking the back row, no other enemy have taken hit, therefore the enemy's back row is the one with the lowest HP percentage, and your Decabri can really focus and just kill off that character. That's great. However, if you're facing against enemies who have, like, let's say, an Bison up front, and Bison is always going to have the lowest HP, and therefore you are just keep on trying to attack and Bison, he never dies, and your whole strategy with Decabri just completely wasted. And for that reason, I think DiCaprio is just way too situational, right? If she is in a situation where she can actually take advantage of her skill kit, level 30 is absolutely needed. But if she's in a situation where she's not able to do anything, then you just literally spend lots of resources to do nothing. So for that reason, I don't want to recommend DiCaprio because I just feel like a lot of time, especially in PvP, when you're facing against M Bison all the time, you're literally just gonna waste your resources, and there's just no need for that. Um, Alright, now we're moving on to the normal Dudley. The normal Dudley is all to do with his counter attack punch. But I feel it's a bit too RNG based. One is saying since it cannot be dodged or avoided or parried. Most of the time, I don't think they can be dodged or parried anyway, so I don't really see why you need to do that. More at level 30, it's gonna increase extra damage when it triggers a crit, but that's very RNG based, so you have to be able to trigger crit first to even use it. So I'm not a great fan of spending lots of resources just for a higher RNG rate. I just don't really like that. So that's why, for me, Dudley can go at the bottom. Charming Dudley, I think that's the worst fighting spirit. It uses the Black Rose Mark, which I think is the worst status effect. It basically prevents the enemy from healing, but most of the time, that's not the main problem. Most of the time, the main problem is damage. The enemy is killing you off with their insane damage output. Most of the time, it's not because they're healing too much. So I just think it's the worst fighting spirit, the worst character, in fact. Then we have Hugo. Hugo, I also put level one because the potato marks are not bad, but what happens is at level 30, what it does is that when he consumes potato mass, there's a chance three of them will be retained, etc. But if you actually read his normal skills, when a potato mark is consumed, he is actually going to pass those potato marks to your teammates and giving them a better healing rate, etc. So what I can see is that if I have Hugo to the max, what it's gonna be is that he is gonna be super tanky and really hard to kill, but the rest of your team are going to be really fragile. So if the enemy is have a way to attack the back row, then you are not really protecting your team. You are just protecting yourself. You can easily go into the end of the battle with Hugo being the only character standing, and the rest of your team behind you are already dead. So it's a bit useless. And for that reason, I don't really think level 30 is worth it. All right. So this is my view of the fighting spirit in the game right now. Let me know what you think. Once again, let me just reiterate. This is more from resource management perspective. So definitely nothing to do with how good a character is. And in some sense, if I take bison once again as an example, if he's perfectly good at level 10 fighting spirit, that's actually saying really good because I don't actually need too much resource investment to make his character so good. So definitely bear that in mind. If you have limited amount of resources, whose fighting spirit should you concentrate on, and whose fighting spirit you don't actually need to spend a dime on because they are already good at a very low level. Alright, so that's it for the video today. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you next time.